Hello, everybody. Welcome into a brand new edition of the Computer America Show.
1 minute until showtime.
We have a terrific show planned for you today. So sit back, relax. We have in the second hour, Computer and Technology News brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. In the first hour, we're going to be talking about Axis drones. For those of you into drones, little tiny mini drones. Robert Morrison is here with us with Morrison Innovations. We're going to be talking about this terrific product and about drones in general. It's going to be a very entertaining hour, so sit back, relax, enjoy 2 hours of the Computer America Show coming at you right here. Robert Morrison is, okay.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman. Ben, we can't hear you. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Anyway, Ben, my co-host, was here. Everything is working fine, and then we have a little break here, so we'll figure it out momentarily. But welcome into the Computer America Show. Hopefully, all of you had a wonderful weekend, and we have a terrific show planned for you in the second hour of the show. Ben, are you there now?
Yeah, go-host Ben. Wow, these technical issues are getting annoying.
Yeah, they are. They do get it. But, I'm just glad that everything is working. We have a terrific show planned for you in the second hour. As I said, we have Computer and Technology News brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first...
we also have, in the second hour, real quick, we also have a couple listener emails. This weekend, right? We received a few. They're having problems with their computers.
Yep. And we'll address those in the second hour as well. We'll have time to do that. But in the first hour, for those of you who have any interest in drones, and who doesn't? I mean, they're all over today. And we're going to be talking about drones in general, and also about consumer drones and even mini drones, tiny little drones that fit in the palm of your hand. We're going to be talking to Axis Drones here. Robert Morrison from Morrison Innovations is here to discuss drones in general. It's going to be a very interesting show. Now, if you have a comment or question for him or for me or for Ben, we'd love to hear from you. If you're listening to us live Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, give us a call. 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. Or you can go to ComputerAmerica.com. Any page there. On the upper right-hand corner, it'll say Submit a Question. Just click it. You'll be taken to our question submission page. You can type in a question for us or for our guests. Hit the Submit button. Ben and I will see it immediately, and we can act accordingly upon whatever it is that you type to us. Okay, the other thing that we invite you to do is our live video streaming. We stream the radio broadcast with live video. We've been doing it for a long time now. Again, head over to ComputerAmerica.com. On any page, the menu bar, you'll see it says Show Lounge. Just click that. You'll be teleported instantaneously to our live video stream. You'll be joined to the show already in progress if you're doing it live between 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can see myself. You can see Ben. Sometimes you can see the guests. It all depends. And also, Ben has the technology to display movies, websites, videos, links, that type of thing. So you can see, as well as hear, everything going on the Computer America Show. It's just a fun thing to do. So, Ben, anything else you want to let our listeners know about before we bring on our first guest?
No. I think I hope everyone out there had a wonderful weekend, and of course, I'm sure, because most of our audience is techie and nerdy and all that kind of stuff. Not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm sure many of you have been beaten over the head with the fact that today is indeed Pi Day.
What is
So,
it? Pi
Pi
Day?
Day.
Oh, okay.
3-14, 3.14.
159. I only play
158, I think. I don't know. But yeah, no. Today's Pi Day, and so happy Pi Day to everyone.
Happy Pi. And by the way, of course, you've also been beaten to death about this. But yes, for those of you who are on daylight savings time, you should know that that you should have advanced your clocks ahead 1 hour on Sunday at 2 in the morning. So it is now technically 4 minutes and 30 and 40 seconds after the hour. So at Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully all of you remember to do that. And we should get started. All right. So let me just say here, and kind of it's interesting, during the summer of 2014, a rogue drone was spotted flying around Robert Morrison's neighborhood at night. He actually tried to chase it, knock it down, spray it with a hose, but had no luck doing this. Then he had an idea. Hey, what if we launch a squad of tiny little drones to attack it and bring it down? Well, over the winter, he sold like over 10,000 units during the holiday season, knew that he had found an awesome online community that shared his interest in drones. And after the holidays, AxisDrones.com came to be. Now, here with us is Robert Morrison. He is the owner, business development leader of Morrison Innovations, the makers of Axis Drones. Robert, welcome to Computer America. How are you?
I'm good, Craig, and thanks for having me on the show, Ben, as well.
Our pleasure, really. So, yeah. Now I know there's two distinct companies here: Morrison Innovations and Axis Drones. Did you started that first, and then started the drone business? Give us a little history, the background of how things happened.
Sure. So Morrison Innovations, been in business since January of 2007. Originally started as an advertising company creating websites for small businesses, and quickly turned into more of a consumer tech product launching incubator, and then into more of a cool tech finding site where we would curate goods and sell them to customers. And then after, like you had mentioned, the summer of 2014 and starting out in February of 2015, we launched Axis Drones, which is a DBA underneath of Morrison Innovation. So it's a division of the parent company that focuses solely on tiny drones.
Right. Well, so you heard my introduction. Was that pretty much how it happened? I mean, there was a drone and you kind of chased it around.
Yeah. I personally wasn't the one doing the chasing. Some of my neighbors were doing that, and we were all out around the bonfire one night and drinking some beers, and my buddy was talking about how upset he was that this drone was looking in his kitchen window while his wife was doing dishes, and knowing him, how quickly he could get angry and get himself into trouble, I said, guys, just let's fight drones with drones here. Let's not get ourselves in the trouble. I've got some connections overseas, and they make these tiny little quadcopters that are essentially toys. So I'll order some, and we'll learn how to fly them. And next time we see that drone, we'll go after them and take them down that way. Just basically trying to keep us out of trouble. And that was the main game plan we had.
Okay.
I was about to say, I mean, I'm assuming this happened in America, and let's face it, in America, you have access to guns. I mean, there's a better way to do this than with hoses. Or worse way, I guess. I don't know.
And you hear of lawsuits and people, getting hit with those for, shooting down someone's drone, and because of the value, sometimes it's considered a felony for destruction of property. So I figured the law enforcement at least would see the humor in the fact that we were going to use drones to take down a drone. So I didn't think we would get into too much trouble, which we never ended up even getting our chance to do that, as the winters here creep up pretty quick in Rochester, New York. So we weren't able to take them down.
But what do you think the attraction is? I mean, I certainly, anything that I ever seen, and I'm seeing it appear more in movies and even TV shows. I mean, it used to be an enormous expense for a company to, get these magnificent aerial shots because they had to hire helicopters and pilots, and it cost a fortune. And now we're seeing more and more of it. And it kind of dawned on me. I said, this is a drone I'm watching, and it's beautiful, and it's like smooth motion. What do you think the attraction is? Do you think is that aerial photography just that's inexpensive, or people just like to, they have a Superman, fixation? They just want to fly, and this is the next best thing. What do you attest it to or attribute it to?
Yeah, I think it's three main things. One, we've always, as human beings, been fascinated with flight, and this kind of, with the drones with first-person view, gives you that in the cockpit feeling of the flight experience, where you can see, what this little aircraft sees, coupled with longer flight times compared to, those little helicopters and things they used to sell in the mall that would only fly for, a minute or two. Now some of these larger drones can fly 20, 30 minutes at a pop. So, you get longer duration of the use and the experience. And then also, like you had mentioned, it used to be so expensive to get that aerial imagery, and then they were limited by, once again, the FAA rules, where a helicopter can only fly so low. So your photo quality of the aerial images wasn't always that great. They didn't have the high megapixel cameras that we have now that are smaller and lighter weight. So if you put all that together into a package of something that, an everyday person can own, fly, and take great photos on a lower height and altitude at a high resolution. I mean, you're talking about the perfect combination of a recreational use for drones. It's amazing how quickly it's progressed.
Yeah, I have to say, and I brought this up a number of times in the past, but I'm going to do it again. West Palm Beach, Florida, over the Intercoastal, has an amazing fireworks show on every 4th of July. They have these barges that go out and shoot these amazing fireworks. And I think it was 2 years now, it's been out. This is the second year someone did this. He actually took a drone and flew it through the fireworks that were going off, and it was the most breathtaking, most beautiful display I have ever seen. I mean, it was just. They played some music in the background. He added the music afterwards. But the aerial photographer that you, and it's still up on YouTube. You can see it. West Palm Beach fireworks. I'm sure you can Google it and find it. It was just amazing, and to me amazing that it was able to fly through all those fireworks and nothing. It didn't get hit. It did. It did this. I mean, people are doing some amazing stuff with these things.
Yeah, that would definitely be my concern. Is it doesn't take much to bend a prop and take down your $1,000 drone. So I have seen those videos. There was a couple in Japan and China that were posted online. I haven't personally seen the West Palm Beach one, but it's just amazing that you can get a view of something that's never really been seen before. You wouldn't see a helicopter previously with a video camera or a camera flying through fireworks to try and get that kind of footage. So it really is. Definitely something that's I don't embarking on.
I don't even think it was possible. I mean, a helicopter, the downdraft would just interfere with everything. It would just. Oh, yeah. This was very ethereal. It was like it was.
Yeah, and I think you don't want to put human lives in risk for getting a pretty shot of fireworks.
Right. And you don't want to do that either, obviously. But the point is that to able to capture this, and it was just smooth gliding. It was like almost like it was on a track of some sort. It was just absolutely breathtaking to see these fireworks going off, and and looking down on the coast, on the Intercoastal shoreline, and seeing people and watching. And I bet probably for the most part that people didn't spot it because the drone is so tiny. It probably didn't detract from the fireworks. They probably didn't even know it was there. It was just, almost invisible. Mm. Would you agree? I
mean, when you're looking up, upwards of 400 feet, something that's, a foot and a half wide turns into something pretty minuscule by the time it's up that high. So yeah, I don't think anybody would notice it.
Yeah, and the sound also, there's virtually no sound. I mean, when you're that far away in a helicopter, you would obviously hear it.
Obviously there's going to be fireworks that are going to mask any sort of sound a little drone can make it a couple hundred feet in the air. And that's that. But, Robert, I guess for me, all these aerial shots and, for commercials and television, like I believe they're shooting the latest version of Planet Earth, the documentary with a bunch of drones. But, that's one thing. But I don't think a lot of people, or at least most people, want to make, Hollywood-esque movies. But at the same time, I also don't think that most people want to buy drones to, freak out people in their homes. What are you finding most people are wanting drones for?
For my brand, for the small drones,
Yeah.
it's mostly just for fun. Originally, our first model was the Nano Drone for beginners, and the whole premise on that was to teach people how to fly, the full mechanics of quadcopter flight, easily, safely inside your home without worrying about crashing, damaging anything, hurting anyone. And pretty much the inspiration for that was just doing a YouTube search of epic drone crashes. And you see, thousands upon thousands of grown men crying when their $1,000 drones crash into a bridge, tree, or a lake. And, I said, somebody needs to help these guys and show them, how to fly, because it's all, GPS is all fine and good until you lose your GPS signal and you have to fly it manually. And that's where, a small drone, our entire line is under $100 each, some of them under $50. And, it gives you that full flight of manual flight experience. So, that you're ready in case something does happen. So when you move up to a larger drone and, you lose your GPS signal or something happens, you have to fly it back manually, you've got a, 90 to 95% chance, a better chance of getting that drone back safe rather than crashing and ending up on YouTube.
Now, also,
and people also love to terrorize their cats.
Speak a little bit of the technology, because I know initially, you really had to be skilled to fly one, but hasn't technology gotten to the point where these things are very much stabilized, so you really don't have to worry about, you just go left, right, up, down, have to worry about the delicate balance. It has the controls and the sensitivity of how these things are flown a lot easier now than when they first came out. Can you speak a little bit to that?
For the larger scale drones, like DJI 3DR, definitely 110% better than it's ever been before. They just keep progressing on the technology. They've got collision avoidance in the new DJI Phantom 4, which, detects things within its range and knows how to automatically avoid them. And it's all paired and coupled with GPS and Google Maps and things that allow it to know exactly where it is in any given situation. So yeah, you can set a predetermined flight course like you were talking about with the fireworks and how it seemed so smooth going all the way across. That path, that flight path, was probably pre-designated in the app, showing it where to fly. And then you have these amazing camera gimbals that maintain the balance and reduce all vibrations, essentially to not even be noticeable on something that's spinning at 50, 60,000 RPMs. They've definitely gotten a lot easier for a beginner consumer to fly as well. So I would even go as far to say that larger drones at this point are easier to fly than smaller drones. And that's because a small drone, a nano drone, a micro drone like what I have, they require you to fly manually. We can't fit GPS sensors in them. We can't fit ground detection and avoidance in them at this point yet.
No.
Not to say that won't happen sometime in the near future, but it's also more fun to fly by the seat of your pants in, and a safe environment, knowing that, you can do some flips and some crazy tricks and stunts, and you're in control.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, but I just think I've noticed now. I know Ben actually brought one back. I don't know if it was this particular one that you had, but I noticed that the drone itself, even it didn't have all the avoidance and everything that you're talking about. It was still easier to fly. It wasn't.
Oh my God! I have never in my life had an easier time slamming it into a ceiling fan. It was so simple.
Yeah, but the stability of it, it was rock stable. You could literally levitate and it would just kind of stay, 7-10 feet off the ground and just stay there, hover there.
Well,
Yeah.
the one I have that doesn't have the auto stability. It's like you still have to rely on like the throttle. Like if you just hold it up, it'll keep going up, and if you let go, it'll automatically bring itself down. Admittedly slower, but it will still bring itself down. it's still one. It doesn't have the auto, stay at this level feature.
But it's still
Right.
it's still a lot more stable. I remember
Oh, yeah.
when they first came out. I mean, if you breathe funny, it would just you really had to practice.
Oh yeah.
This model, these
Yeah.
models now, you don't have to have that kind of expertise to fly it. Is what I'm trying to say. At least that's my observation.
Right. I mean, you've got, advanced gyroscope stabilization and 6-axis. It knows where it is at all points in time. So, I mean, you get a gust of wind or a breeze, or, you bounce off a wall, it's able to right itself, almost immediately. So it's definitely a lot better than it was even, say, a year ago, as far as the technology for that goes as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not hallucinating, because I remember the first time I tried one, it was, you had to practice hours just to have a, to fly at a few feet. Whereas now this one, it was just, there it is, left, turn left, right, go forward, front, back, up, down. And you didn't have to have this delicate, hair trigger balance. It just knew. It seemed very rock stable is what I'm trying to say. And these things. And as you say, it's a reflection of the technology as it continues to improve. Tell us a little bit about your background, Robert. I mean, what's your background with this? How did you, what makes you qualified, or did you hire people to do this, or what's your involvement with the development of these things?
So as far as the development, I've got a business background from West Virginia University,
Okay.
And I also studied pretty extensively with electrical engineering. I never actually got a degree for it, but it was just something I was passionate about from a kid. I was always one of those
Sure.
kids that took apart the radio, took apart the computer, and tried to figure out how everything worked. And so I've got a lot of experience with modifying things, making things better, problem solving, and then adding in the business standpoint of all that. So, basically when we had sold those 10,000 units of the cheap little Chinese quadcopters to our Morrison Innovations customers, I went back, about a month later, and I sent out a survey to everyone. And I said, what did you like? What didn't you like? What would you make better or suggest for beginners, for, more advanced pilots? And basically we took all of that information, and it was about the same 7 or 8, problems that were identified. And then I took what I'm good at, and, is problem solving. And I said, I can design a line of drones that, fixes all of those issues. And that's pretty much how I got into it. So I took existing technology that was out there, modified it, made it better, to solve the specific problems of, what my customers were asking me to solve. And that's how we've grown such a large following in such a short period of time. So
the inspiration to design drones and quadcopters, you sort of kind of and the motivation behind it. Why did you decide to do this? Just not leave it to the other companies to eventually come out with it. Why did you want to do it personally?
Because I'll be honest, out at CES this year, there were, entire sections devoted to simply drones. And, there were some companies out there that were just designing the software behind drones, but there were many, many others out there who were showing off, look how rugged my drone is, look how smooth my drone is, look how easy my drone is. I mean, it's a pretty crowded field.
Yeah, and not only that, there's even a convention dedicated to drones. We interviewed the gentleman.
Oh yeah,
there was.
They did that out in Vegas in like a warehouse, I think.
Yeah, they did. They had so there's a huge enthusiasm. Why did you decide to make your own brand of this? What was the?
I follow the trends, and I've got a loyal customer base, and when they said, "Hey, can you make these changes to make a better product?" I said, "Absolutely." So, at the very least, I figured I'd give it a shot. I designed one. We launched it on Indiegogo back in February of 2015, and our current customers were excited about it. They were like, "Oh, finally, a beginner drone." The one that we had sold them from China was, like you had mentioned, it was hard to fly. It wasn't stable. You couldn't. It was up and down and all over the place. So yeah,
it was terrible.
So I slowed down the motors, put on the blade guards, put up a landing skid, and the crowdfunding campaign took off. I used the money to manufacture the whole first production run and start the website, start the company, and I just kept going model by model. And each time that we launched a new product, we gained more followers, more customers, more repeat customers. And I said, this is definitely a growing industry. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward with this as long as it's, makes sense to do so.
Now, we're talking about drones, but there's something called quadcopters. What's the difference between a drone and a quadcopter, or is there a difference?
That's a long-standing debate among many people. So when we first launched my first 4 models were essentially quadcopters. Most people, the bare minimum designation of a drone is that it at least have a camera. And then there's some that says, well, the camera needs to be live feed, first person view. And then there's some that go even further and say, well, a drone should be completely autonomous and you should be able to program it and tell it what to do. And that's what defines a drone. So there's many different arguments for what a drone is, but the same thing, a quadcopter is always a quadcopter. It's 4 propellers, 4 motors, 2 spin clockwise, 2 spin counterclockwise, and that creates the lift, rotation, and drag, and that's a quadcopter. So essentially, every drone, every consumer drone that you see out there that has 4 propellers is a quadcopter. What makes it a drone is all the added features of a camera and GPS and automatic flight and things of that nature.
Yeah. Now, and again, technology continues to. I mean, it's like anything else. There's, for example, battery life. That's one of the big killers of. I mean, our smartphones can do all kinds of incredible things, but it eats into battery life, and so we're always finding, because batteries really haven't changed in quite some time, and there's in the immediate future, I don't see any quantum leap in battery technology. So. With the batteries that you're using, and I'm watching the video here, and it's just fascinating. This thing is buzzing around. Are you finding the battery technology woefully inefficient to do what you need to do, or is it holding up somewhere? Because your drones are so tiny, there's not much weight that it has to lift up. So isn't that advantageous to?
I mean, they some of these are so small. It looks like the heaviest part would be like a AA battery, and it's like that's the heaviest part.
Right. I mean, so for all of ours, we're just using small lithium-ion batteries, anywhere from 100 milliamp hours to 150 milliamp hours, and the weight of the battery proportionate with how much flight time you can get out of it seems to be a pretty consistent percentage as you grow the drone larger. So, for example, with all of our small drones, you get about 5 to 7 minutes of flight time, which is amazing, I think, personally, for a battery in a drone that small. To be able to fly around for that long is pretty good. And then, as you get these larger batteries going into the larger drones, they get, 20, 30 minutes of flight time, but, the battery's 10 times the size and the drone is 10 times the size. And just talking about battery life, it has gotten better. It's definitely more efficient than it has been in the past. And there's going to be some big changes coming soon if things keep going well in Stanford. I don't know if you're aware of the aluminum battery that they're working on at Stanford. So basically, it's an aluminum ion battery that's super lightweight, charges really fast, and it's flexible, bendable. So I've had my eye on that for a while to try and institute into drones. I know they're making it primarily for laptops and cell phones so that they can become thinner. And but I think definitely for a drone capability, anything that's lighter and provides the same amount of battery power is going to extend flight time, which is ultimately what everyone's looking for. Everybody wants to fly for as long as they can without having to recharge.
Yeah, I have to say, when I first saw the you pronounce it Vitis or the
Vidius.
Vidius, you're billing as the world's smallest drone. When I first saw it, I thought it was gonna, it was like a gnat, shoot it away. It's so tiny. It's like you think it feels like it's an insect. If you're not expecting it, you would think, oh gosh, there's something here's gonna come and try this. It's an insect. It's so tiny.
To give people a some sense of scale, because radio, yay, of course go check out the video portion, but also the fact that in the video you had an average Logitech looking mouse, and you moved the mouse away and the drone was actually hiding behind it. It's about the size of a mouse, it seems like.
Yeah, it's 4.3 centimeters in both directions. So I mean, it's smaller than a roll of Lifesavers. Or do people even eat Lifesavers anymore? Stick of gum, roughly about the same size. Yeah, and it's super small. It's the smallest one we have with a camera, but we actually created a smaller quadcopter, which was the drone right before the Vidius. It's called the Arius, and that one is actually half the size of the Vidius, which is the world's smallest quadcopter itself, and that one is the size of a U.S. quarter.
No
and it
way.
Flies 5 to 7 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and the picture of that one, like you actually have the controller, and it looks like the drone actually can sit inside the controller.
Correct. Yeah, so you can bring it with you safely, because otherwise you'd lose it.
That is amazing. And obviously, as battery life gets longer, now does it charge in the controller, or do you have to charge it separately? And how long does it take to give it a full charge?
So for the Arius, you do have to charge it with a USB cable. It's got its own little special connection on there. But any USB 2.0, 3.0 port takes about 20 to 30 minutes to charge, depending on the speed of your computer.
I'll tell you what,
and
Robert.
then out of that, 5 to 7 minute flight time.
All right, Robert, we're taking a break, and boy, the time is flying by, pun intended. Way to
go, Craig.
We'll talking to Robert Morrison of Morrison Innovations, Axis Jones. We'll be right back. A brand new News Tips Culture Review coming up as well. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Your parents know you're listening? I'm Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Bestech 300-watt inverter. It's the kind of thing you plug into a vehicle's 12-volt accessory socket to get 110 volts AC at a familiar 3-prong power outlet. It has some nice features, starting with a pair of USB charging ports that can deliver up to 2.4 amps right next to its 2 AC outlets on the business end of a finned aluminum case with a small cooling fan on the far side. Its built-in protection covers things like low input voltage, high output current, output short circuits, and so on. It takes about 3 seconds to come up to spec, so it's a good idea to count to 3 before plugging in or turning on your gear. Bottom line, the new Bestech 300-watt inverter gives you the power to go out and about without doing without outlets. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. That was a brand new News Tips Bulletin review from Marty Winston. He can churn them out like no other. No, really, it's crazy how many products he gets to review. So, good or bad, that he at least knows of probably similar, solutions on the market, and he at least knows what he's talking about, and that's something he's proven time and time again. But yeah, welcome back to the Computer America Show. And here in the first hour, we're talking to Mr. Robert Morrison from Morrison Innovations, and we're talking right now about drones. Always a fun topic to talk about.
Yes.
And I think this is very much going to take us out through the hour. But yeah, we're just getting into all the different types of all the different types of drones that they have put out. And we talked a little bit about the Vidias, and we're talking about the Aerius right now, which is even smaller at about 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters. These drones are very, very tiny, and I guess this goes to your earlier point that these drones are I don't think a drone enthusiast is going to say this is the last drone I'll ever buy. This is amazing. But as for a first drone, I guess this is where you recommend people would dip their toe into the market.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's that's pretty much the niche that we were going for, was the small, micro, nano-sized drones that it's under $100 to get started, learn how to fly, see if quadcopter flight and droning is for you, and do it safely and not have to worry about damaging anything or losing your $1,000 investment on your first flight. So it's definitely a stepping stone. And then we also have plans and hopefully to grow along with our consumer base, as we get them started on small drones, and then they graduate up to a racing drone, and then up to a full scale aerial photography drone. We've got plans for designing those as well that we're working on.
So tell me, what was the fascination with these tiny drones? I mean, if you were going to the market, why scale? See, scalability seems to be the thing with Axis. I mean, you have these tiny little drones and you're making them smaller and smaller. Why are people so fascinated with these little tiny things? I mean, why do they want big? Usually when you go cars, I want the big muscle car.
Usually everybody wants something big. Bigger is better.
Exactly.
We saw an opportunity to go smaller is better. So it's definitely been, a fun race. There were some other companies out there that, in China and overseas that were making small drones. And I took it as a personal challenge to go ahead and become the smallest and see how small we could get these down to. And I'm pretty sure my Aerius is going to be the smallest size that you'll see. I can't find motors, that are being readily available made to go any smaller than this. But I will give you a sneak peek. I do have a prototype right now where we have managed to put a first-person view camera into the Aerius.
Oh my gosh!
So that's just going to bring things to a whole new, ridiculously small level of first-person view drones.
I mean, you can send these things down if you have a clog in your plumbing. You could probably send one of the things down. They're small to fit into pipes. I mean, we kid about that, but I would think eventually, I mean, we could find practical uses, for these things where you need to go down and look in small areas and you just can't get to it. You could send a drone down there. I would think maybe that's a few years away, but there's certainly a possibility, I would think.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the FAA. Okay, now
they love drones. They love trying to figure out how, if they're going to be either A, dangerous, B, crazy and they're going to be everywhere, or C, probably all the above.
Well, look, let's kind of set this up because, in the drones really weren't around in what, 10 years ago?
Not even
5 years ago. You go drone, they go, huh? What's that? A drone.
Well, before that, you say drone, and they think, oh, military, and they have Hellfire missiles, and
right.
No person should have those.
Yeah, or you would just, a sound, makes a droning sound. That's the only thing. Exactly. So, and they've only come really into the general consuming market in a short period of time, and of course. So the FAA, and when Amazon started saying, "Oh, we're going to have drones deliver boxes," I think that's sort of what flagged the FAA and said, okay, well, now we need to start putting regulations and all these things. So, and they have new FAA restrictions. Tell us how the FAA is affecting or not affecting your company.
Well, I mean, for us overall, none of our drones meet the requirements to register yourself as a pilot or to register your drone. All of ours are very small. Everything's under, an ounce, essentially an ounce or less. So nowhere close to the 8.8 ounces that they're requiring. The half a pound point. And I feel I can't really say I feel bad for the FAA, but if it wasn't for Amazon, they wouldn't even have had an idea that this was coming. And it happened so fast that, they really had no option but to come down swift and hard and say, here's the rules until we figure out what's what, because the consumer market just exploded. And the next thing they knew, there was more drones than, consumer aircraft, and they had a big, giant potential problem on their hands. So, I'm kind of glad that they came up with some quick ideas, and I'm looking forward to the revisions and how they progress from here. And knowing our government, they'll of course try and find multiple ways to make money off of us at the same time by taxing and registering and licensing and insuring. But currently, right now, the biggest thing is just our customers asking us, hey, do I have to register this thing? And, my reply is always a simple, no, you're good for, maybe if you tied 10 of them together and flew it that way, you might have to register it, but you're good for now.
Okay, so the thing that kind of allows you to slide under the radar with the FAA is the physical size or weight of these devices. Is that the
I think it's the fact that, let's face it, if one of Axis drones fell out of the sky from 20, 30 feet and hit you in the head, you'd be mad at the person, not at the drone. I mean, these things are so tiny.
Right. And it's twofold. It's so they set the regulation based on the weight, and then, as I had mentioned, with battery life, the weight and the size of the drone and the battery determines two things: one, how long it can fly, and also how far it can fly. So because ours is so small, with the battery power, you really can't fly more than 100, 200 feet, and they're worried about aircraft, drones getting in the way of commercial aircraft. So mine, the Axis drones would, like you said, it would, if you tried to get it up that high, it would drop out of the sky and, fall out of signal range before you even got anywhere remotely close to an aircraft. So I think those are the two things. Definitely the weight and the fact that, let's face it, these are more of a toy at this point because of its size, but, we're adding cameras and getting them in there. So now it's becoming a little more functional, which is, great as we grow. But the bigger guys have a lot of legislation on their hands, and, I don't envy them at this point. So hopefully by the time I get to that size, they'll have it all figured out.
Do you think, you're moving to the larger ones, but you're still going to stay innovative and make these smaller drones? I mean, as the technology improves, you're going to maintain these small drones in your lineup with additional features or more longevity or better battery life. I'm assuming that's what is your plan on the roadmap ahead, to stay with tiny little drones as well as the larger ones?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I really don't want to get into the larger ones. If that's where, our customers steer us, then obviously I'll take a look in that direction. But, we've really carved out a really good niche for ourselves here as pretty much, I think we're the only U.S. Manufacturer supplier here that's doing micro and nano drones. I think everything else is coming from overseas. So, you get U.S. customer service. We've got a following. So, I think I'd like to stick with smaller drones. I think at the most I would get up to is maybe right around that half a pound mark, and try and make something really spectacular that falls under the, below the FAA's radar, so to speak.
Okay.
I can see it now. First you have the Vidius, and then you come out with the Vidit Plus, which is a 75-pound fully working camera movie ready drone. 75 pounds. You got this. I think you can branch out.
So obviously you don't foresee this slowing down. I mean, you're this explosive growth and popularity and the sales of drones. You just think this is just going to continue to grow?
Yeah, I mean, drones in general, the market of what they're able to do and things that they can see and do, and take agriculture, for example. They're using larger commercial drones, and they're hooking them up with, geothermal thermal imagery and checking on crops and helping save, farmers and agriculture, thousands and thousands of dollars by showing them, where things are wrong so that they can target their efforts. I've seen a lot of really creative and useful designs for drones, so I really don't see it going away. I only see it growing, just because as the technology advances, so will the number of uses of what you can get out of these, and what things they can do to help keep people safe, and to save money, and to help companies grow as well in different ways. So I really don't see it going anywhere.
Do you see? I mean, do you see drones becoming as popular as well? Maybe as, but quite. I mean, look. All right. When smartphones came out, or they started to come out, then they started putting a camera in every smartphone, and and then of course now they've improved. The cameras are in many ways better than standalone cameras. Every smartphone now has really an incredible camera, and that just seems to be getting better and better. Do you see drones becoming as popular as the cameras that we're seeing in smartphones? That more and more people, when they're going to go on a trip, well, let's take the camera drone, so we can photograph the family and do it, just kind of bring the drone along. Do you think that in maybe the next 10, 15 years that'll start to happen?
Yeah, it would depend on how autonomous that they can make them. Right now it's going to be people like me that they enjoy the drone, they know about it, and it's something that you would bring with you on a family vacation to say, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we did this and had a photo? And there's been a couple companies that have tried the selfie taking drone where you throw it in the air and it takes your picture and then flies back, and I don't know if that's ever really come to full fruition, but it would, like I said, it would depend on how autonomous they made it. I definitely see it being maybe not more for the everyday use, but for outdoor activities, sporting events, people that race motorcycles and ski and surf, and they have ones that you can program to follow you, and you wear like a little bracelet and it follows you and video records your activity. I think that you're going to see become more and more prominent. As far as like an everyday household item like a cell phone, I don't see it going that far, unless it became the size of something you could fit in your wallet or your pocket that not only took a picture of you but helped. I just don't see it in an everyday use. I see it in more of a commercial use, or an athletic or active lifestyle use.
So you do see that drones remaining relevant in our culture for the foreseeable future. I mean, it would be kind of cool if you just pull out your smartphone and the drone is part of the smartphone and you just launch it, right out of the phone, because it's so thin and tiny, and it's like it's the size of a couple of insect, and we go out. I mean, you can kind of see something like that, and I don't think it's that bizarre anymore, because you have it down to the size of a quarter. Well, gosh, in 10, 15 years, you can see the size of an insect, or something of that size.
Well, if we're daydreaming about the future, I personally, I can see a case where really everyone has their own personal drone that can be used as an emergency device, where, it kind of follows you around all day. You really don't pay attention to it. And then, you say help, or, you say I'm in trouble or something like that, and it calls, a tow truck, it calls the authorities, it calls whatever, and it gives them your location, a video feed of you. Like, I can see these things in so many different applications, but it's like, that also seems so futuristic that it can't happen.
Yeah, that sounds like something that would be, I would like that in a perfect world. That would be awesome. I don't know if we can get to that point. I do see, like I said, there's one that somebody designed, which I thought was really intelligent, that it would fly out at the beach with a lifeguard. So it would fly out to somebody that was struggling in the ocean and drop a life preserver to them, because it could get to them so much faster than a lifeguard. But then the lifeguard would still swim out, and it would help save lives that way. So I definitely see the search and rescue, the life saving, and we've been toying around with some larger scale things for a second company, for checking out infrastructure, mostly cell phone towers and electric towers and things of that nature that currently they pay somebody to climb up, once a month and inspect everything. But, why take that risk when we can program a drone that can do that and, send back 3D renderings and CAD drawings down to the millimeter. So, like I said, long term, it's definitely, drones are going to be around. It's just going to be a matter of what is, what's efficient and what makes sense for people to have.
I mean, I watched a video a few weeks ago about these guys, the electrical guys who go out in wires and take their lives in their hands because they're doing all this stuff so they can. With a drone, that would eliminate all that. You could just send it up, see what the problem is. The costs and equipment and the lives, the training that would be required. And now you can have one guy and send out the drone and. I think you're right. I think in areas where human lives are at risk, that what we have to do now, even in search and rescue. I mean, really, it just goes off the scale. There's so many things.
I think what we're touching on is something that I think a lot of your customer base already knows, and I think a lot of our listeners already know, is that drones are probably going to be a huge part of our lives in the near future. Like they're going to be used for so many different applications and for so many good applications that odds are you're probably going to want some kind of experience with the drone. If for nothing else, to just know what they are capable of. Get started with drones and start using drones, and that way when you see one, you don't automatically freak out. You say, okay, someone is sitting 500 yards away with a box and they're controlling this stupid thing. Like, just know what drones are, because they're going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
That and with the commercial purposes that are definitely going to be coming, I mean, there's going to be career opportunities. So, you got some younger customers of mine that, I tell them, hey, learn how to fly these things, take them apart, see what makes them tick, because there's going to be a ton of careers, even in just, repairing and, doing modifications to them. But once you get into the commercial aspects, I mean, who knows what kind of career there's going to be where you drive around all day and go to different sites and fly a drone and report stuff back. I mean, that would be an awesome job. I would sign myself up for that job as well.
I mean,
although I get to fly my drone now,
yeah.
So.
I mean, look back 20, 25 years. Did you think that everybody was going to walk with a smartphone? I mean, where smartphones is today. I mean, look what happened in such a short period of time. And even that was, I mean, it was hard to conceive that we would have what we have today with smartphones. Everybody has them with all the abilities to do. 20, 25 years ago, it was, if you had a cell phone, it was
20, 25 years ago for smartphone, 30 years, let's just say 30 years for personal computers, period.
Yeah. I mean, so it is and because the technology is geometrically increasing, the curve is bending up that much more quickly because we have so much of this stuff. In the next 10, 15 years, I think, as you say, drones will be delivering everything from pizzas to, I mean, mail, our mail being delivered. It just won't be Amazon. I mean, we're going to have so many alternative, efficient methods of delivery. There obviously is going to have to be some regulation. Obviously, the FAA is
trying to get out ahead of it.
Yeah, it's trying to get ahead of it because they can see on the horizon. I mean, this is just going to be part of our lives, just like smartphones are a part of our lives now. I think drones are going to be because drones can affect so many different aspects. I mean, medical emergencies. I mean, you name it. I mean, you think about it, drones can deliver it more quickly and more efficiently than someone in a car trying to get through, downtown traffic. I mean, it's just it is. It's just so. All right, now we're really kind of throwing things out there here. Let's kind of pull back and tell us what's on the horizon for Morrison Innovations and Axis Drones, Robert.
So for Axis drones, as I had mentioned, we are planning, I'm working on a prototype to put a camera into the Arius, which would then make that the new world's smallest first-person view drone. As of right now, it's not quite possible, but I am working on that. There is going to be a second generation for the Vidius. We've gotten tons of feedback. It's been our most popular drone besides the beginner drone. So people love it. They love the first-person view experience. And we've gotten feedback again, somebody, a lot of people want more of an HD 360 camera and some extra things added into the app. There's going to be an upgrade for the current Vidius app that's going to allow it to be used with Google Cardboard. So when you view the camera on the app on your cell phone, you can hit the split screen view and then put it into a VR headset like Google Cardboard, or we're actually going to sell a model of our own. And then you can put that on your head, wear it, and fly first-person view as if you truly are sitting in the cockpit of that tiny little drone, and that's all you see. So that's coming up in the near future here. So just more small, tiny, amazing drones. And then, like I said, if our customers take us in a direction of getting a little bit larger, we've had a ton of requests for racing drones. I know that's becoming it's finally catching on here in the U.S. I don't know if you saw any of the recent videos of drone racing, and it's an amazing hobby. I've been doing it for quite some time, and it's definitely going to catch on real fast, and we want to be a big player in that as well. So that's something that I'm working on.
How wonderful for you to have your customers, the consumers, telling you, what to do next. You don't have to sit around and say with your guys in the marketing, okay, we got to figure out something new. We kind of have against the wall. You don't have any of that. You've got so many creative ideas coming from the people who use your products. You've got a roadmap for the longest of time. I don't think you have anything to.
That's right. I mean, that's how we started, and that's how we'll grow. We just always listen to our customers.
Right. So now, if listeners want to learn more about Axis drones, or where can they get them, let's talk pricing a little bit. Let's talk about the models that you have now, and where can they get them.
Yep. So currently, all of our models are sold exclusively on our website at axisdrones.com. And as far as pricing goes, you've got the Vidius, which is our newest one with the first-person view camera. That's $95 each. And then before that, you had the Arius, which is the world's smallest quadcopter. That's only $35. So 5 to 7 minutes of flight time that you can take with you anywhere for just $35. And then one of the other fan favorites is the Turbo X drone, which was actually made as a joke. I had used dental drill motors on the prototype because I wanted to see how fast I could make one of these little things go. And I had put it up on our website, and Kevin Rose, the founder of Dig, actually found it, saw it, and ordered a first production run and gave them away to all of his quarterly box subscription customers, which I thought was really cool. So that's how we launched the Turbo X. It's $38 on the site. And then the flagship, the original drone, is the Nano Drone for Beginners. And the Nano Drone for Beginners is $40, the ultimate indoor fun flying beginner drone.
And you have plenty of them. Let's say let's say something happens, that something's going to happen. It's not going to happen to the controller that I'm holding. It's usually going to be a little drone. So if something happens to the drone, can I just buy the little drone and use the same controller, or are they somehow matched up and you have to have a new controller for a new drone? How does that work?
Each model uses its own controller. So say you had 3 turbo drones, you could use the same controller for all 3 of them. It creates a unique pairing each time you turn it on. It binds with the controller. It's kind of similar to Bluetooth. So there's just a quick pairing process of an up-down on the left-hand stick. But the controller is exclusive to the model. But yeah, if you were to break just a drone, the cost isn't really that far offset, so we just say, buy a whole new package. And
got it.
If you want to hold on to the controller, fine. But we're talking everything's $50 to $100.
Right.
So it's not a
right.
And then we do offer a program too. If you have one for a while and you crash it and it dies, we offer you a discount if you send the dead one back to us. We give you like 40% off your next purchase.
That's nice. Okay, that's certainly.
Yeah. I mean, I want people to keep flying.
Yeah.
So, and I know that there's a learning curve. So we've had customers have it run over by a car, dropped in a fish tank, chewed up by a dog. And the funnier the story, the better for me, because I put it on social media and said, send it back to me. We'll take some pictures and we'll give you a discount on your next one.
Yeah. When we launched one in our house, we have 5 dogs here. They went nuts when they saw it. So it was
oh yeah.
Axis Drones, AXISDRONES.com is the website, or you can just go to computeramerica.com. We're right there on the homepage. It's going to be up there all week. We have a link directly to axisdrones.com. So If you can't remember, just go to computeramerica.com. It'll always be up there, and you can check out the link that we have. That again, Robert Morrison, owner, business developer, development leader for Axis Drones. Listen, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on today's show. It's really, really cool technology, and we should have you back, here in 6 months or something, where you got something new. Just let us know, and we'll get you back on the show.
Absolutely, I would love it. Thank you so much for the time, Craig and Ben. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Robert, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Axis Drones, and you can check it out for yourself. So cool. And when the little
when you're talking about drones, there's not many guests we can have on the show that, you can go out and buy one for, $30-$40.
That's amazing. And they sound so neat too. It sounds almost like an insect. It has an insect feel to it.
It has tiny wings. That's what an insect has.
Yeah, and so you get that,
Well,
but
tiny propellers.
tiny propellers. I don't think any insects have propellers. They all have wings. But wouldn't it be cool if they could make one that looks like a little insect? The little wings flap. Little drone, insect drone.
I wouldn't doubt if they already do.
All right.
I think some scientists, and this was years ago, but they made a mechanical dragonfly, and it flew the same way. And it was very, very cool to watch.
Yeah, I sort of remember something like that, the mechanical dragonfly. All right, well, we got another hour of the show coming up, and we're going to be doing computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. We got some great stories to talk about as well, including Korea is going to be shifting to a cashless society. I didn't think it was going to happen on a government, but evidently it's happening in Korea. They're just so advanced over there. Also, Microsoft wants you to train AI with Minecraft. These stories and more, another brand new News Tips Bulletin review coming up, and your questions will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at computeramerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And wow, that was fun. If you missed the first hour, we had Robert Morrison on. He is the creator of and developer, owner of Axis Drones, making these tiny, tiny little drones that, again, don't fall under the purview of FAA regulations. You can fly them anywhere. You don't have to take any training. You can take them out of the box and go for it. I mean, if it fell on somebody's head, it wouldn't hurt them. I mean, they are harmless little drones, and yet are so capable of doing so many things, including the live video while it's in flight. They're very stable. If you missed any portion of that, certainly you can listen again. We archive all of our shows at computeramerica.com. It's on. You can get it at Apple's iTunes. The Blog Talk Radio Network carries archives. Stitcher, SoundCloud now carry the show, and also on the iTunes. And the TuneIn Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. And because of that association, we are now also available if you have an Amazon Echo. You can listen to Computer America right on your Amazon Echo. The shows are available as well. Again, to find where you can hear us, just go head over to computeramerica.com, and everything is there waiting for you here on a Monday show. So, well, you had a little experience. You flew it around. You enjoyed.
Yeah, I have it around here somewhere. It's so small. I think I lost it. No, it's somewhere around here.
Yeah. The thing is that we have 5 dogs, and every time it's like the dogs just, it drives them crazy. Especially with their hearing.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No, I mean, yeah, but heaven help if the dog gets it, gets a hold of it. I think that's going to be the end of it. Yeah, you got to be careful.
A toy's a toy, and even though we were trying to be serious and we were trying to, outline all the different uses for drones, this I would say is probably very much in the realm of a toy. You could probably give this to a kid.
Well, for $35, everything, sure. I mean, it's inexpensive. It's not like $1,000 drone. And these are easy, but evidently better than the ones that you find flying around the mall. And you can only get them from accessdrones.com. Check out the website. Really, really cool. All right. Now, before we start doing computer news, we had an email. Well, actually, we got one here from Jonathan. He just reminded us that it's Pi Day. That's all he says, Pi Day.
Yep.
Yeah. So we told everybody about Pi Day. 3.1459. That's as far as I can get with Pi. Remember that Star Trek episode that there was a culture that they were so impressed because people could, with anybody who could recite Pi to 100 some odd places or something like that. It was
I had a friend in school who used to learn Pi in his spare time, and his nickname was actually Pi.
Wow.
He could do over 100.
That's impressive.
It was like him and another person, and like they both like the principal actually gave them like little awards and like gift certificate for like a pizza or something. But yeah, like they could do it.
Well, there was one special, I'm pretty sure it was Nova that I watched. This is a couple of years ago, about a savant who he was a mathematical savant. I mean, I
think he did 10,000.
Yeah, he was able to deal with society. He was able to integrate because of but he was also a savant in math, and he was able to do Pi to like you said, 10,000 places, and they documented it. They had a huge pile, printouts, and he was able to do it. And because I don't believe there is a mathematical formula that you can just plug it in and have it generate Pi. There are some other variables to do it. And anyway, he was able to sit there and do it. It was extremely impressive. So today is Pi Day. Any significance other than the fact that it's Pi Day? Is there any social significance, or where it's based upon, or just somebody said, "Hey, we need to have a Pi Day," and they just made Pi Day?
What's wrong? Well, it's along the same lines as May the 4th. It's like
May the 4th be with you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They're puns, and
all right.
It is what it is.
Okay. Well, anyway, we got this one question from a gentleman named Calvin. And it's a tech support question. We probably should say this for I'm going to hold it. I mean, I'll read it and we'll give our best guess. But when Mike Cermak, we do one of our tech support shows, we should ask him as well. But I think we know the direction. Anyway, I'll read it to you. It says, he says, I have a Dell laptop, okay, and I am having problems connecting to the internet through Google, but I can't connect through Internet Explorer. So that was my first, I wasn't sure exactly what he was aiming at. Then he goes on, he says, I tried reinstalling Chrome, but it didn't work. Help me. So he wasn't trying to connect the internet through Google. His Chrome browser, I believe, is the problem. So he cannot get to the internet through the Chrome browser, but he can connect to the internet through Internet Explorer, or I guess any other browser for that matter. So I think by process of elimination it's not your internet connection, it's not your computer.
Very safe and easy assumption to begin with, but the real problem is, how do you fix something like that?
Yeah, the Chrome browser. And you of course are a Chrome user. The only things that I can think is make sure that you have the latest version or iteration of Chrome. That's a good one. Or you might want to try going back, because you can use earlier versions of Chrome and see if the problem persists.
No, I don't think that would be the answer either.
Okay. Well, what do you think the answer is?
I think you should try fleshing your DNS cache in the Chrome browser, because I think it's probably pointing to an old or even an incorrect DNS domain name server, and the one that your Internet Explorer is pointing to is probably a correct one. So I'm sure if you try to flush it, it would, just kind of go back and say, okay,
that's a very good guess. And I would probably say that now, Google has its own, there are a number of DNS servers. You can use the one that's in your Internet Explorer browser. You can look it up. It's in the setup in the tools. But you can also Google has its own DNS, which I use now. I used to use another one, which escapes me at the moment. But anyhow,
OpenDNS.
I used to use OpenDNS because it had some additional controls and everything. But I'm not worried about little kids looking at things that they shouldn't, and so I don't really worry. And when Google came out with its own DNS, which is what 8.8.8.8, I think is one of them. There's two of them, and the second one is you can look it up real quickly what the two Google the DNS is. You can look that up in one of them. But basically, just go into your copy of Chrome and go.
And as long as you are using Chrome, the really obvious one here. And by the way, if you're in Chrome, go to the address bar in Chrome and type in Chrome, 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 / net, NET dash internals, INTERNALS / hashtag or # DNS. And if you type that in, that will give you your actual DNS settings for Chrome. And everything's going to be right there. It's going to show you everything. It'll show you all of your expired, it'll show all of your expired DNSs and all the ones in cache, and it'll show your active DNSs. And if it's a 0 or whatever, that's probably a problem. And there's a button right there, plain as day, clear host cache. Press that, and it should flush it, and restart, and you should be good to go.
Now the DNS server though numbers is 8.8.8.8, and then the second one is 8.8.4.4. That's how you should configure your network settings.
Right, that's in the internet settings on your computer.
Yeah, exactly. So you want.
But the reason that I don't think that's even strictly necessary is because your Internet Explorer works.
Right, but you can have, I think each browser you can override whatever your system.
I know, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right. That's in the Chrome settings. And you can set that.
You can set it in the Chrome settings.
Yeah,
and my suggestion is, what I think has happened is that the settings in your Internet Explorer are correct, but in the Chrome settings, you've somehow put the wrong DNS server in there. I would suggest that you go in there and set it up manually and make sure that it matches the ones I just gave you, 8.8.8.8 and 8.8.4.4, and that should leave you prepared. So Calvin, if that doesn't work or if that didn't do it, let us know, and we will pursue it further. But I think Ben is spot on. I think that's what it is, because it's the fact that you're getting internet on one browser means you should be getting, and you're not on the other. I believe that the browser itself is configured incorrectly, and that's all you need to do. So hopefully that helps you. Okay.
Hopefully. That's wrong with tech support, though. It's like you Google something and you try to find the answer, and we did a little bit of research on our end about this, but like you type into Google and you type in and you try to be as clear and concise as you can be, but then you go to Google and it's like, oh yeah, I have the exact same problem, but it was 7 years ago and it's on completely different software and hardware. It's like that, even though it kind of applies, it no longer applies because it's not, relevant to your hardware and software, because hey, it's years old at this point.
Yeah, and things change.
It's really hard to find proper answers on technical stuff.
Yeah, when you do find an answer, check the date. Make sure that it's within.
It's like, oh yeah, this worked wonderfully. Just log into your Windows XP settings and like, gosh darn it.
Wrong. Yeah, just make sure. And usually Google ranks them by chronologically. So usually the ones that are first are going to probably be the newest.
I mean, I've ran into it before, and like the highest rated or in the highest returned response was from like 2007. I was like, not quite.
Yeah, but I think he hit it on the head. I think it's his DNS. His Chrome is not configured properly with the proper DNS, whereas the Internet Explorer is. And so he just
clear the cache, reset it to the Google one, and again, none of that will wipe your hard drive. None of it will mess up your search settings. Oh. It'll all be normal, from the outside, but it should at least point you in a very open and point you to the right domain name server.
Exactly. Okay, and by the way, in the future, for those of you writing, if you have a problem, the more information you can give us, the better chances we have of helping you. So
like right there, that listener, he sent us that question, and he's like, I have a Dell computer, and I have a problem with Chrome. Like, honestly, writing that you have a Dell computer doesn't really matter, but it's nice that he provided the information, because really any little piece of information that you can give us might actually include something. But
because you might have been doing it on a Mac, running on a Chrome, and Mac, it's configured a little differently. There is a general system, as with Windows, there's a system way of doing it, and it's different on the Mac than it is on the Windows. But whatever the system is set to, the default, your browser can override that. Each individual browser that you use, whether it be Chrome or Windows Explorer or Opera, or Safari, they all have ways of configuring themselves which supersede what the system is, which makes it, and that's why we believe that's what's happened in your case. So the more information you give us, the better we can help you. All right, that said, we got lots of news to do, so let's do some computer news. Today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Slimwareutilities.com. Check them out. We use them here. They have some terrific features that make your computing experience a lot easier, like their privacy tool. Windows 10 has the privacy feature, but configured out of the box, if you get it in a box these days, not all the privacy features can be configured correctly. Slimware Utilities goes in and sets them up the way they're supposed to be, and allows you to use it a lot easier and more quickly. So check out slimwareutilities.com. You'll be very happy that you did, and you'll thank us for it. slimwareutilities.com.
All right. And so I'd say for our first story, we're going to go off to something that I think captured the world's imagination. No, it's not what you're thinking. It's actually the Google AI, DeepMind, and how they are competing in Go against a war, and really what many consider to be the best Go player in modern history. Yes. I mean, he is very, very well accomplished, with multiple world championships under his belt, and just so strong. But over the last 3 games, he has actually lost to a computer, which many thought was impossible. That a person would lose such a complex game, with our superior human brains, to something that really, at the end of the day, brings it down to ones and zeros. But Google AI finally just now loses. Actually yesterday, just now loses to the World Go champion. So yeah, Lee Sedol brings it back 1-3.
All right.
So it is a tournament of best of 5, but not best of 5, but it's a tournament of 5 matches, and they're going to play out all 5 regardless, because if they just played the best of 5, then it would have been over after Google AI won 3 times. But they're playing all 5 out.
Well, I thought he would, after the first 3, I thought he was doomed. I said, okay, this is it. But, it could also be that he was a little, not nervous, but a little maybe too confident or something, and really
that was the excuse for the first game. The first game was that he definitely assumed that the computer was going to make stupid moves, and he wasn't really performing to his full potential because he underestimated the AI.
Right. So in the second and third, he didn't underestimate it, and he still lost. But now he's won his first game.
Right. So and this is from Engadget, and after 3 consecutive losses, Go champion Lee Sedol has beaten DeepMind, AlphaGo, in the 4th game of their 5-game series. The DeepMind founder notes that the AI lost thanks to its delayed reaction to a slip-up. It slipped on the 79th turn, but didn't realize the extent of its mistake, and thus adapt its playstyle until the 87th move. So the human win won't change the results of the challenge. Google is donating the $1 million prize money to charity rather than handing it over to Lee. Still, it's a symbolic victory in a competition that some had expected AlphaGo to completely dominate. So, not that Lee or other flesh and bone players can rest easy. Hasiba says that AlphaGo's loss will help Google eliminate weakness in the AI. There's a real chance that the company's code will eventually be near unassailable in Go, showing that the artificial intelligence is consistently effective at beating real things. And that ultimately is helpful for us humans, as it could lead to neural networks that rely more on fuzzy logic than raw calculations to complete tasks. And and there's a couple things here. The way I had it explained to me was that this victory, the DeepMind did and AlphaGo did make a mistake, as they said, on the 79th turn. But one thing that Lee Sedol switched up this time was that there's a timed element to this, where you can spend where you spend a certain amount of time on the early moves, and then as the progresses, you get less and less time depending on how long you spent on your previous moves. So at one point, it just becomes really it becomes kind of a race against the clock kind of thing. And what Lee Sedol changed up this time was that the early game, he's used to just throwing moves out, kind of setting up a defense, kind of setting the game up. Because, let's face it, just like in chess or any other game, the early game is pretty predictable. And there's only so many ways that you can start. What Lee Sedol did differently was that he would spend a lot of time developing his early game, really thinking it out, and spent way longer than he normally does on the early moves. And then he noticed that AlphaGo would, just the computer would spend 3 to 4 minutes on each move later in the game, and that 3 to 4 minutes per move later in the game would give Lee Sedol the time to think, even though by the rules he wasn't really allowed time to sit there and think about his moves. So so no matter what, AlphaGo, like the fact that AlphaGo let Lee Sedol think for those couple minutes after every move, he kind of attributed that to how he was able to beat it. Like he said that if AlphaGo was able to just say throw out a move within 10 seconds or 5 seconds after moving, Lee Sedol would not have had a chance, because he wouldn't have had time to think, and he would have had to rely on instincts in past games, and and the computer probably would have just beat him outright. But the fact that the computer took so long to think, let's just say that Lee Sedol thanked his victory to essentially lag, and in deciding the moves. So he found a flaw in the system.
Wow, and evidently took advantage of it.
Yes, he did.
So are there any more matches scheduled, or was that
one more today? And we'll probably get the results of that tomorrow, because it should be played again sometime today.
Okay, all right, and we'll.
But of course, they're in South Korea, so the time difference is 10 hours, 11 hours.
Okay, well, we'll certainly report on it because we've been covering it. And we'll.
But as I said, because the series is definitely going to go the way of AlphaGo, because it's already won 3 times, Google donated the $1 million to charity instead of Lee Sedol walking away $1 million richer.
Well, I don't think he was really doing it for the money per se. I think he was doing it.
I would. What? $1 million is $1 million. Of course, you do it for the money.
I guess, but that's how they attracted him to it. But so who are you rooting for? You rooting for Lee Sedol, or are you rooting for the computer?
That's like knowing the results of the Super Bowl and then asking which team you want to side with.
Yeah,
it's like you kind of know who's going to win. So no. Look, I'm on the side of Google, because as they said later in this, this is just proof of concept to a lot of different solutions, and this, as I said, this is going to eventually lead to neural networks that have been in development for 10, 15, 20 years. And these neural networks, they're going to become a bigger part of our everyday lives. It's really an understatement. On Engadget, they kind of linked it to another article, and this other article was about one that we were supposed to do about a week ago, but we never got around to it, just too many news stories. But it was a neural network that tells you where photos were taken. and it would take, it would scan the environment in a lot of photos. And of course, it could do easy stuff like, let's say you have the Eiffel Tower behind you, or the Leaning Tower of Pisa behind you, or, the moors behind you. Google could pretty easily identify where you were when that photo was taken. But they're doing more and more obscure places and more obscure conditions, like mountain ranges and, buildings and landmarks and whatnot, that if in the photo it identifies any of these, it will automatically be able to tell you exactly where the photo was taken. And it's stuff like that neural networks are really, really good at.
Yeah.
So, and AlphaGo is just a much easier to understand concept of what a neural network is. This neural network was designed to, win at Go. I think people can very easily, associate, what is the purpose of this neural network. And then there's more, there's more in-depth ones, including, hey, where is this photo taken?
That is nice. And before, to do something like that, the pattern recognitions and it was extremely really difficult. But this is coming to, this is like, we'll be able to do things like that with our smartphones. I mean, they'll be able to tie in and you take a picture of your smartphone. So where was this taken? And it'll be able to.
There's Craig. Have you ever heard of the webcomic XKCD?
No.
I think that's it.
No.
XKCD. Well, yeah, and they have a lot of really, really funny and often factual comics. And there's this one comic about a software engineer, and his boss comes up to him and says, "It's like, listen, I'm going to need you to create a program that tells the person when the photo was taken, where the photo was taken, and with what the photo was taken." It's like, "Oh, sure, I'll just scrape the data off the photo that comes with the tagged information off the photo. I'll have that on your desk in a week." And he's like, "Perfect. And I'm also going to need you to make that photo also identify any birds in the photo and tell me what kind of bird it is." He's like, "All right. I'm going to need 5 interns, 5 years, and $100,000." Because what one task is very, very simple to do, and the other one, which may seem just as simple, is completely different and completely harder, infinitely harder. And image recognition, telling what a face is one thing, because nowadays we can do that pretty easily, but knowing which mountain is which mountain, knowing which landmark is which landmark, that's a little bit harder.
Yeah. Pattern recognition falls into the pattern recognition. That's not...
and that's what AlphaGo is, an example of. It's how far neural networks have come.
Yes, they have,
and are going to be, because they're definitely they're the future of computing.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So again, congratulations to really congratulations to all the human player and also to the artificial. I mean, it's all for the best. So. Terrific work being done. All right, so the last game will be played tomorrow. We'll let you know who won. Okay.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Ben and I are doing computer and technology news. This next story is from Engadget. Microsoft will let Xbox and PC gamers play online with other platforms. That's a huge statement if you think about it.
Hasn't happened before, so
it's huge, and it all starts with Rocket League multiplayer between Xbox One and the PC. And this is again written by Devendra Hardwar. He says it's finally happened. Microsoft is officially opening up its network gaming capabilities, allowing developers to have Xbox One and Windows 10 games play online with other console and PC platforms. Yes, this is huge. Yes, we could soon live in a world where Xbox One and PlayStation 4 players could fight each other to the death outside of comment sections. If somebody actually agrees to cooperate. Because right now, that's the only way we can do it. It's entirely up to developers to implement this cross-platform capability, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up getting widely adopted. Psyonix's Rocket League will be the first game to take advantage of the feature, starting with Xbox One and PC network playing later this spring. Cross-network play has been the #1 most requested feature our community has asked for since Rocket League was first announced on Xbox One. And now that we are able to pursue complete online unity on all platforms, today's announcement is a dream come true. And this is from Psyonix's Jeremy Dunham, said in a blog post today. And the director of Microsoft's Independent Developers for Xbox program also noted that gamers will have the option to only play against other Xbox Live players if they wish. And he also says the invitation is open for other networks to participate. So all eyes now obviously are going to be on Sony to see how it responds at the GDC this week. What's your thoughts on this, man?
It's the dream. It's the dream that it doesn't matter what console you play on PC or console, and or PlayStation or Xbox, that you'd be able to play again, not just with the people on that console, but really with anyone. Because what makes video games so fun nowadays, and what and what really brings the attention, is the community aspect, how the other people they get to play with. And if you can all of a sudden extend that beyond, oh sure, there's instead of just being 3 million Xbox players and 5 million PlayStation players, what if you could throw in the extra million PC players, and all of a sudden, instead of playing with 1 or 3 or 5, all of a sudden you're playing with closer to 10 million players. That is the dream. That's what everyone wants. But there's a lot of incentive to not do it from a capital standpoint, from a monetary standpoint, because you want people to buy into your ecosystem.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about this when we get back, because I'm curious to pick your brain on this. But we're going to take a little break here, and then we'll continue on. You listen to the Computer America Show. Ben and I are doing Computer and Technology News, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Also, you'll be treated to another brand spanking new news tips bullet review from Marty Winster. It's called the Air Hook. Go figure that one out. And then we'll be back with this story and lots more right after this. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Yeah, we tried flying United, but the flight attendant wouldn't let us. I'm Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America, this time Air Hook. It takes a while to understand what the Air Hook is about if you're not aboard an airplane when it arrives. it's supposed to hold stuff. So start in your mind with a tray table in its closed and upright position. Open it for a second, just a smidge. Slide the air hook clip over the tray's top edge and secure the tray again. There's a hook below the holder gizmo that you can use for your headphones, a round ring with a removable spider to make it a cup holder, and a bungee with a clip so you can mount your handset or tablet up on it. The whole thing comes with a travel pouch. Now, the handset or tablet positioning is better for viewing than for typing. Be aware. Bottom line, the air hook can do the holding. When there's a seat back tray, you'd rather not be unfolding. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. And yeah, 33 minutes past the hour, we are doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimmer Utilities. And yeah, we are, right in the middle of it. And by the way, also, not a lot of things happen this weekend, but I will say one of the high points of the weekend was catching the latest Saturday Night Live. And it was a very, very funny one. So I don't know, just want to throw that out there. It was very, very funny. Go watch it. Great musical performances.
Oh yes, yeah, I know.
But but other than that, though, we are currently in the middle of this story about how Microsoft will let Xbox and PC gamers play online with other platforms. And yeah, this has been a point of contention for some time, and it's also been not just a point of contention, but also technically impossible. So yeah, they're finally working the bugs out. They're finally working the kinks out. And now I don't think this is going to be possible for every single thing, and though maybe it will. But one reason that a lot of gamers didn't exactly want something like this was because they felt that in certain situations, an Xbox controller would give better control, or an Xbox controller would give you different controls, whereas many people saw the mouse and keyboard as actually a superior form of input. So, things for like first-person shooters and such, and real-time strategy and whatnot, they have had, Xbox and PlayStation ports, but at the end of the day, the pros and the professionals and the higher level gameplay always happened on computers because you had more control and you had easier control of what you were trying to do than with a simple controller. Because let's face it, a controller has 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, 2 to 4 triggers, 2 joysticks, and a D-pad, whereas a keyboard and a mouse, some mice have 17 buttons, and some keyboards have macro buttons that give you hundreds of different combinations of controls. So at the end of the day, PC gamers always had the clear advantage over console gamers. I think what makes Rocket League special is that, at least for Windows 10 and Xbox, you can use the same controller for both systems. You can plug in an Xbox One controller and have it work with a Windows 10 computer. Therefore, you're giving people at least a comparable experience. And so I think that's why there's so much demand for this one, is because this is one of the few games that the input controls are the same.
Well, it's interesting you point that out. So maybe this won't happen across the board, because my first thing was, well, why, games like World of Warcraft can now open up and everything, but no, because you say that PC gamers would have
because something like WoW, I use something along the lines of 25 to 30 key bindings. How are you supposed to use 25 to 30 key bindings when you have 16 buttons maximum for the Xbox controller?
Well, it makes sense. So obviously not all games will, but games that are designed either from the ground up or designed with this in mind, if they're designed with multiple platform play in mind from the beginning, which is what which Rocket League is certainly, maybe this generation of games would, because then everybody is equal regardless of hardware. That would and that would also. Yeah, and that would also up a whole new category of gaming. I mean, you don't have to use the existing ones, but certainly you would have multi-platform games.
And it would definitely have to be designed from the ground up, because there are games even such as Call of Duty, where you have in the professional scene, yes, it's available for Xbox, and yes, it's one of the most popular games on the Xbox, but at the competitive level, it's always played on the PC. Just having the sensitivity in the controls of a mouse and keyboard, trump anything you could possibly do on a controller on an Xbox. So, at least from a competitive standpoint, the computer has always had a clear advantage. And, when talking, not even, higher level, professional esports competitive level, just if you have an average person on a console and an average person on a PC, the PC person would probably win 9 times out of 10.
So now with a game with like Rocket League, that really doesn't matter, right? Because
both can use the same input, both can use a controller.
Right, exactly. And then and when you say can use, in other words, the only way you could play it is by
you can use a keyboard mouse, but the preferred method is definitely a controller.
So games of this category, how would you categorize them? What would you call them? Games of this category where the controller play only, or
I don't know. Yeah. It just a game. I don't know.
So this category of game then is going to spawn maybe a whole new.
Rocket League is pretty standalone. I mean, it's its own, kind of car racing game mixed with soccer kind of thing, and it's. I'm sure it doesn't defy genre. I'm sure someone has a good name for the genre, but it's a pretty unique standalone experience.
All right, and we're looking forward to this happening again. What's your gut feeling about Sony? You think they're going to participate? We'll have something like this?
They have no reason to. I don't see why they would.
Okay. All right. Well, we will see how it plays out.
The only reason that they would is because they're being quote unquote browbeaten by Microsoft, saying, "Hey, look, we got the Windows 10 and the Xbox playing together. Why can't PlayStation join in on the fun? Why can't they do something good for their customer base?" But at the end of the day, PlayStation probably has more users than Xbox ever does, and Windows 10. It's just that there's no reason for PlayStation 2. It would be nice if they did. I don't see why they would.
Yeah. Okay. Well, according to the author of the story, Devindra Hardwar, he wants to see it happen. That's the gist that I'm getting from him. But
again, I can see why I can see why people would want it. Yeah. I just don't see why they ever would. All right. How about this one? This one is entertaining, and that we talked a little bit about this. I mean, heck, it even made it onto our news feed. But the official breakdown is out, and it doesn't look too good. So yeah, and this, to make a long story short, there was a product out called the Coleco Chameleon, and it was a Coleco game console that hit Kickstarter, promising to bring you all of your old favorite games from a lot of different consoles and play them in their original formats. Hence the Chameleon. It didn't matter which console. It didn't matter which console it came from. It would always play it in how it looked natively on its original console. So yeah, and this is of course, very, very sad to hear, but this was a retro video game console that launched on Indiegogo, and the idea behind this was a cartridge-based console that would play retro-styled games. It'd be a throwback to old consoles that didn't need firmware or software updates, and everything would supposedly work perfectly right out of the box. Of course, the optional adapters would be sold later to let people play the system games on VGS. And they even used the casings of the old Atari Jaguar console for maximum retro appeal. And all that for a minimal price of about $300. So, of course, you're expecting, this was a huge problem, was that you're expecting people to pay for essentially the price of a modern console for something that is, 15, 20, 25, 30 years old technology. Seemed ridiculous to begin with. So the team behind the console pointed out that it had a ludicrous amount of extraneous bells and whistles to justify the price, but retro game collectors quickly called foul. And the other shocker was the team was requesting almost $2 million for the project. mainly because they didn't have a working prototype when the Indiegogo campaign launched. That's a bad thing to do, by the way.
Yeah.
So the hardware specs seem to keep changing at the drop of a hat, going from a unique field programmable array, gate array, a versatile chip that could be configured to suit different hardware and software needs, including mimicking CPUs of legacy consoles, to a vaguely defined ARM processor system, causing potential backers to lose confidence in what they get for their money. And it didn't help that they didn't show that what they did show looked flimsy, and the author put that literally. And of course, undeterred, the developers of the retro video game system decided to rebrand, redesign, and relaunch. Out went Retro VGS hardware designer John Carlson, with Mike Kennedy putting the onus on him for bloated design. And the new team contacted the current holders of the Coleco brand, and of course, they were able to come out with the Coleco Chameleon. So, and here's where a new set of problems began, because the Coleco Chameleon did exhibit at the Toy Fair as promised, but skeptics immediately noticed that something strange in the photos and video footage. Why was the game cartridge and the console back covered in black electrical tape? And why was it using hardwired Super Nintendo Entertainment System controllers for a demo?
Yeah.
So, and a theory soon arose that in the retro gaming sphere, that they were actually using the guts of a Model 2 SNES and a flash cartridge rather than the actual prototype board. As more pictures and comparison pictures with some putting their Model 2 SNES guts in the Jaguar shell emerged, the evidence looked more and more, factual.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, things can only get worse when the promised Kickstarter was delayed. Conspiracy theories flew about. Since Kickstarter requires a working prototype, observers believe that this is proof that the Toy Fair showing was the sham they suspected. To rebut the rumors, the Coleco Chameleon team released a series of photos on their Facebook page of the system's supposed hardware in a clear case to show people that they did, in fact, have something to show as a genuine product. Unfortunately, it turns out that something may, in fact, be an old PCR card used for capturing video on PC. So, they said that a user actually found and compared the layout of the capture card to the picture shown here, and they're basically identical. Moral of the story: if you're already under scrutiny, don't try to fool people, because they will do everything they can to find out if you're telling the truth. So, long story short, at this point, the Chameleon's a punchline. Its reputation is shot, and it doesn't look like any amount of retooling, rebranding, or even solid proof that this thing actually works can save the product. It's better to let the beast fade into the mist of vaporware than continue to ruin reputations. So, here's a group of people that they had a goal. They went about it with extremely high expectations by, trying to sell the console for tons of money, trying to raise tons of money to do this, try to ship off fake or at least rigged up, models. And at the end of the day, I guess you can't fool people on the internet. They're so freaking clever with Google and whatnot, and just their own personal knowledge, that they were able to see through, all the smoke and mirrors they were trying to throw up. And yeah, this whole idea of a retro console that can play any game in its original format is pretty much over.
Oh, well.
Don't try to fool people, because they will catch you.
Any word as to what happened to these creators? I mean, obviously Kickstarter protects the money is not.
Yeah, I think they're still trying to I think they're still trying to get it going.
Yeah.
But as the author states, I mean, with all the twists and turns the story has had, their reputation is shot. No one's even going to believe them if they do get a working prototype. No one's going to believe them enough to throw $2 million at them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So no one got hurt. I mean, no money was lost, is what you're saying.
I believe the original Indiegogo campaign was a success, but that was supposed to be followed up by a successful Kickstarter campaign so that they could do full production. So I think some people did lose a lot of money.
That's a shame, because things like that hurt legitimate campaigns, you know.
Yeah, we hear a lot of stories about successful crowdfunding, but we also hear probably even more so the unsuccessful crowdfunding. And it's crowdfunding, it's a rare opportunity for people to speak with their money and say, I would buy that, make that. And if enough people say it, then they, hopefully get the product that they were promised. But it's also a very, 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 very common thing for people to throw money at it to succeed. And then at the end of the day, a genius idea does not a good business model make. And the business side of it goes under, which of course drags down the technical side of it. So, be careful where you throw your money. And even though a Kickstarter is successful, be prepared that even at the end of the day, you may not get your product. It may still flop even after a successful campaign.
Yeah. Okay. Words.
It's happened before.
Yes, it has. All right. Okay. It being Pi Day, this is kind of appropriate. For those of you who have a Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi 3 was just released earlier this month. It had improved hardware, including a quad-core 64-bit ARM CPU, an upgraded GPU, and embedded wireless updates to let people use it for a wider variety of tasks than before. Okay. Well, evidently, Western Digital likes what they did, and they just announced, and they make available a $46 314 gigabyte hard drive just for the Raspberry Pi. It's called the Pi Drive. It's based on the Western Digital Blue, and it has a price of just $31.42. That's an intro price. So that's it. So for those people whose use cases require a decent amount of storage with your Raspberry Pi 3, Western Digital has just announced a specialized low-profile hard drive called the Pi Drive. Now, as I said, it's currently available for $31.42. It will normally cost $45.81. Still, it's a 7mm high drive based on the basic Western Digital Blue drives that still ship in many budget and mid-end laptops and PCs. The difference is the interface, which has been changed from SATA to USB and is designed to connect to the Pi directly without drastically increasing the footprint of the device.
I mean, just looking at it, I would say that this thing is probably about the size of the Pi circuit board.
Yeah, right. So you could literally fit it right underneath it, and it would add just maybe a slight bit of more thickness to the whole device. Western Digital says it has customized the drive in order to reduce the electrical power load of the hard drive on Raspberry Pi while still maintaining sufficient performance to deliver maximum USB data transfer rates. That's cool. It's also a cheaper solution than the 1 terabyte Pi Drive kit the company already sells for $79.99. So if you don't need a full terabyte for your Pi, because obviously the Raspberry Pi, you probably have a vertical application for it. Not everybody needs, a terabyte of information stored. So you have this alternative. Western Digital says that the 314 gig Pi Drive will come with the Berry bootloader to make it as easy as possible to install and run multiple operating systems from the same drive. That's so cool. The new Pi Drive is compatible with Western Digital's existing Pi Drive cables and enclosures and is available for purchase today. So there you go. So all you Raspberry Pi enthusiasts, we've just upgraded to the Raspberry Pi 3. Here you have something really, really nice. $35 for the Raspberry Pi 3.
3142, as in 3.142, as in the digits of pi. Introductory price, but then after this, it's going to be available for about $36.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, $46.
So either Pi changed the price. I go with the Pi. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's 31. That's 3.142 4.2. That's what Pi is. That's where they come in with $31.42 in celebration of Pi Day, tying it in. But again, all you Raspberry Pi enthusiasts, you might want to check this one out. It's a very cool option that just became available today from Western Digital.
I'm sure people who use their Raspberry Pis as a security camera or something like that, having a dedicated little hard drive that it can back things up on, just so you don't have to upload everything to the cloud if you want it, available right there. I'm sure people can find uses for these things left and right. But one thing I did want to cover today, because this was announced, I think, yesterday, but this was a very, very cool story in which, Blizzard. I'm a huge fan of Blizzard games. I'll get that out of the way. But they are updating Diablo 2.
Yay!
Diablo 2 for Windows 10. And some of you are like, don't you mean Diablo 3, Ben? No, Diablo 2, the one that came out 15 years ago. The one that hasn't had an update in 10 years is getting an update. Yeah, it's crazy. So, while many PC gamers are joyfully hacking away in Blizzard Entertainment's current Diablo 3, the company has released a patch for the ancient second installment in Diablo 2, which was again released back in 2000. This is the first patch for the classic title since Blizzard released the Lord of Destruction 1.13D update years ago in October 2011. So it's been about 5 years. But Blizzard has launched patch 1.14a. Although the manual update currently isn't showing up on Blizzard's website, the company said that the new patch addresses glitches caused by modern operating systems. They have a quote here saying that there is still a large Diablo 2 community around the world, and we thank you for continuing to play and slay with us. The journey starts by making Diablo 2 run on modern platforms, but it does not end there. See you in Sanctuary Adventures. And what I really like about this is the fact that, for the most part, Diablo 2, other than the, I'm sure, minimal sales numbers that they are getting from people buying Diablo 2 at this point, Diablo 2 is probably just wasting the money. Blizzard as a company, you don't pay for Battle.net. You don't pay for a subscription to Diablo 2. You don't pay for really, there aren't microtransactions in Diablo 2. There really isn't anything in Diablo 2 for Blizzard to make money off of. But they realize that people still play it, even to this day, 16 years later, and they are not only increasing the compatibility, but they're also, releasing bug fixes and patches for it to keep the game, I don't want to say current, but, as playable as possible, almost 2 decades later.
Now, who's playing this? Is it older, people now, or is it still the new gamers are playing?
Well, I mean, would you call me older? Because I still play Diablo 2.
But you play Diablo 3 as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just Diablo 2. A lot of people played it when it was new, and it was very, very nostalgic. And plus, it was just a very, very good game. So, and also, let's face it, after you paid for it and the expansion, it was free and it never cost you a dime. So if you didn't want to pay for another game, I could see people playing this for years and years and years.
And this is the micro purchases and all the things that you find in the more modern.
Way before any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and of course, Blizzard did add in a blog post that it will be doing actually a couple things. Blizzard's new patch arrives after the company posted a job listing back in November 2015 that sought out a senior software engineer. And this individual would help update Blizzard's older catalog of games to newer operating systems, including the original StarCraft, which came out in 1999, and Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos, which came out in 2001.
One thing you didn't mention is that the patch that we're talking about also includes a new installer for Apple's OS X.
Yes, so Apple will be able to play it as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you have a PowerPC Mac, you can get rid of it now and play it on an Intel-based Mac.
Right. And yeah, and one of the cool things was that they're updating a patch for StarCraft to be able to play on new ones, and also Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos, which many people still like. I would even say more people play Warcraft 3, even play it more so. Right. Is also getting an update, and that is years upon years in the making. So, Blizzard as a company, I've always enjoyed what they've done, but it's also really, really cool to see that they're sticking to their roots and they are actually continuing support for games that, let's face it, for Call of Duty, they probably dropped game development after about 2 to 3 years. And then they're like, 2 or 3 new games have come out by this point. Who really cares? And Blizzard, for them to update, almost 20-year-old games to make sure people can still play them, that is very, very cool.
It is, yeah. The company supports its the customers. There's obviously demand for that, and going to allow them to play it on more newer equipment. I can't imagine somebody still having a PowerPC Mac.
I mean, Craig, you were complaining that the backwards capability of some of your software, whenever you're updating your Mac OS, it was lacking.
Yeah.
This is backwards compatibility from people who are running Windows 95, and Blizzard is going out of the way to make sure people can play it on Windows 10.
Very, very nice. Good. But we've always admired Blizzard.
90 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you, we're pretty much out of time. Again, I want to thank Robert Morrison for being with us here in the first hour, talking about Axis drones. Coming up tomorrow in the first hour, we're going to have ViewSonic, a venerable company, been around for many, many years. They're almost 30 years they've been making monitors. They're now venturing into gaming monitors. Isn't that cool? Gaming monitors.
60 seconds.
In the first hour. And then the second hour, we're going to have DJ Particle. Is an openly lesbian comedy and satire music DJ and performer who bills herself as the reaxital lesbian parodist. So
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, she's got the host of Revenge of the Particle and Mad Music Dementia Top 20 and Streamcast. So it's going to be extremely interesting show tomorrow, and hopefully all of you will be here with us. That wraps it up. Thanks again for being here with us, and Ben and I will see you same time, same place. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Woohoo!
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, again, thanks to all of you for watching. It's going to be an interesting show tomorrow. Look forward to having you all there with us. So we'll see you. Take care. Bye-bye.